This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor John Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
Glad to have you here with us on the Retirement Solution with financial advisor John Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital, where they are working day in, day out to help folks just like you figure out how to figure out a retirement plan, because there's a lot that goes into it. John and his team, they work on the 5 pillars, making sure that you're covered in those areas so that you can move with confidence in your retirement, knowing you got the financial plan in place. So let's get to work on that. Visit us at retirementsolutionradio.com. You can also click on the links we've got posted in the show notes, or again, it's retirementsolutionradio.com. We have been talking as of late, the idea about headlines and what's going on now, and
if it bleeds, it leads.
If it bleeds, it leads.
23 carjackings yesterday at the one intersection. I mean, and how bad is that, right? I mean, everything, whether it was the Republican National Convention, the Democrat National Convention, everything is sensationalized. Everything is, this is the best person at this. They are the best.
Lights and
that
glitter
sensationalism is so aggravating because it's almost never accurate, right? It's like, these are the best stocks. These are the best funds. These are the best blank.
According to who and also for who. Yeah.
And what are they selling, right? So whenever anyone says the best of anything, just take note.
Just let that little flag go up.
Yeah. I bought some things on TV before, and it is never exactly as advertised.
As the cool kids say, you got influenced.
Of course. I mean, and by the way, it's interesting. I think the last time I read this survey or study, it's 51% of college graduates want to be influencers.
No.
51%, Heather, with college degrees. So what do the people that don't have college degrees want to do? They definitely want to be influencers. I mean, I guess that's a new sales job. You're out there blathering on some device.
It is a lot of work. People, they think that it's fun and cush and all these things, but that's why I think you always see these things about abandoned blog sites and abandoned.
Like MySpace?
See it all the time.
Does Justin Timberlake still own MySpace?
I don't know.
I think he bought it.
I think he did.
That may not be accurate.
I don't think you're wrong.
We need to fact check that one. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about current climate and influence us, if you will, John. Influence us about making better financial decisions, because we're entering into Q4. We saw some market volatility a couple weeks back, some deep down days on Wall Street.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we've seen recovery, but it does work as a little trigger reminder.
Sure.
But I feel like every single year at the end of the summer, you and I are talking about recession, because everybody talks about recession in Q4. The market gets wonky. What are we doing? Where's it going? Sure. So thinking about that volatility that rocked the market lately, especially for tech stocks, companies that made up the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
But those shares, they're still up despite recent hits. Wealth manager Sandra Cho was telling Yahoo Finance what her next move would be. Here's what she said.
One of the best things to just know in your heart is that there is going to be volatility in the markets, and to accept it and then just lean on that diversification. If you've been in the Mag 7, if you've made that play with the AI stocks, good for you. There's been a huge run up. That said, at what point do you start taking those chips off the table and cashing them in? So
thinking about right now, and what we saw with that market volatility and going into Q4, and people are talking about recession and whatnot. What are you recommending to folks about taking some chips off the table?
Yeah, I want to dissect this a couple different ways, because I think a lot of times people use these acronyms or whatever. No one understands what we're talking about. So why does everyone keep talking about recession? Well, number one, because the market's been on a tear since 2020. Since COVID started and the market went down for about 19 days, basically everything technology-wise has gone nothing but through the roof. Nothing but through the roof. And the biggest leaders of that have been the Magnificent Seven, or the Mag 7, Sandra said. So what are those? Well, it's simple. It's Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, or what they call Meta, now Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla. And every one of those companies is not only up it's up through the roof. Some have done better than others. But when you think about that, there are 7 companies essentially that have led almost everything higher for the S&P 500. So if you own the S&P 500, the S&P, then you have done very well basically because of 7 out of 500 companies. 7. Now, they've come up so much. The question is, can they really keep going up this much?
Right.
And it's really hard. It's really hard if you're being a fundamentalist and looking at the markets. Can it go up forever? Well, it can go up more. But how much more? Because there is a much better chance that they could come down 50% as opposed to go up another 50% in the short run. Okay. So that's why people are looking at not only could those come down, which is a market crash, that's not necessarily recession, but the recession is because not only have these things come up and they've led everything, the other thing is that we are really not doing as well economically as a country as we would like to. Are we growing at the moment?
Right.
Yes. But are we starting to see some chinks in the armor? Are we starting to see some issues out there that could be a problem? Are we starting to expose some vulnerable areas? Yeah. And it just happens to be at a time we have a presidential election. Just happens to be a time when we have the baby boomers retiring in mass force. I mean, it's the great exodus is what it is. 11,600 baby boomers every single day.
It's such a
day are turning 65.
Crazy number, yeah.
I mean, it's monumental. As a matter of fact, that's going to keep happening all the way through 2027. So that many people are literally every day turning 65. And what does the decision process happen in our minds when we get closer to that? It's like, hey, I'm quote unquote retirement age, and I can get Social Security. I can now get Medicare, so I don't have to work for healthcare. I might want to slow down. I might want to take a sabbatical. I might want to retire if they have enough money. And what that is going to do is that's going to put a little bit of a slowing effect on our economy because they also won't have those working incomes to keep buying these things from the Magnificent Seven. So the issue is that there are a lot of things that when you just look at them, nothing's really terrible. Nothing's horrible.
Okay.
But we've been going up so far and so fast. If we had a 20 to 40% market correction, honestly, if I'm looking at paper, I'd be like, yeah, that's about right. I mean, that could easily happen. Are we prepared for that? Do we want to deal with that? Because one of the things that Sandra was just talking about is, should we pull money off the table? Yeah. Should we cash in on those? And my answer to that is, maybe. And here's the reason why. When you're looking at things, there are 2 major effects. There's 2 major factors if you want to sell out of something. Number one is there going to be a tax consequence because you want to weigh that. If you're going to pay taxes by selling something, you just really want to ask, is it worth a 20 to 40% tax bill in order for me to sell that, to give me peace of mind that I can lock in some of those gains? There's that piece. There's that question. The other thing is if I don't need the money for the next 3 years, should I just let it ride? Because it could go down, but it may come back up. And those are those things that's very hard to know if our crystal ball is a little foggy. It's really hard to know what we should do. Here's my conjecture. Here's what I would tell folks. Okay. If you have a tremendous amount of gains, you may want to do a couple maneuvers. You may want to use a trailing stop loss, which means that you're putting a little bit of protection. You're not selling those positions yet, but if the market starts to go down on you, you're selling small parts of those positions so you can hold on to some of those gains with the idea that if you still like that company, you can buy it back later at a slightly cheaper price. There's one thing you can do. Number 2, you could use a concept called insured indexing, where we can go to a bank or an insurance company and say, hey, I'm going to sell out of this position and I'm going to give you my money and I want you to protect it. As a matter of fact, if you're a bank, you might get an FDIC protection. If it's an insurance company, you just get them to insure your money. But instead of it just being in them giving you 3 or 4 or 5%, although 5% is not bad, instead they will buy options on that index for you. So if the S&P keeps going up, you can kind of go up with it. I got some clients that they like this concept. It works for them. They can literally get all the way up to 14%, Heather. So literally, there is zero downside. The money's insured by a bank or an insurance company. Yeah. But if the S&P goes up like it has this year, they could literally get all the way up to 14% on their money. Okay. That isn't bad. And that gives you that idea of, hey, I'm locking in some profits. Now I can't lose my principal. But if things keep kicking butt, I can still kick some butt with it.
Right.
Those aren't bad ideas. Those are things that we can consider doing. And that's just a strategy. Is it right for all of our money? Never. But does it make sense with things this expensive? Because what happens if the market keeps going up? Well, you may get 10, 11, 12, 13, 14%. What if the market goes up 90%? Well, you're not going to get all of it. That's okay, because you're still participating in the upside. But what if the market falls off a cliff? Well, in those type of strategies, you just don't lose anything. You may not make anything either, but that's okay because you didn't lose anything. Well, so again, those are
thinking about, but thinking about the folks you work with, like retirement, like it's different when you're in your 30s and your 40s. You can afford the risk of the way down market to reap the rewards of market going up. But when you get to 65 or 70, if you can get 14% in some years, but zero lost in the years the market goes, if you cannot stomach a 20 to 30% correction, but you get up to 14%, even if the market goes up 25%. I mean, that's the balance for somebody.
The thing is, it's not bad. Is it because it's a perfect strategy? No, but it has not existed in the past because of evolution. Things have changed a little bit. We can now do this, and also because rates are higher. Rates will go down, and those numbers will not be as good in the future. But at the moment, those numbers are kind of attractive, especially if we're getting closer to retirement. Again, there's 11,400 of you guys every day that are turning 65, which means we're one step closer to needing to use that money to give us some retirement income. So if we can't have any losses and we may get 10, 11, 12, 13% on the upside, 14% on the upside, hey, that's not so bad. Because on the year, I think the market's up, 14 or 15 or 16% right now. You'd almost get everything that the market's up at this moment if it locked in today. So that's kind of good. So those are things that we can do to consider, and we don't have to be all wishy-washy of, I'm going to pull my money out and go to money market. It gives us that idea of, hey, I'm going to lock in some protections. I'm going to take some of these gains, but I'm not going to put it under the mattress. If the market keeps going up, I'm going to kick some butt. If it goes down, thank goodness I did that. So those strategies exist. Again, they're not perfect. They're not the silver bullet for anything. But man, we have not seen this. In the 24 years I've been in this industry, I have never seen the opportunity to get those types of returns with safety. Right. I mean, those are, and again, it's why I love this industry. It's always evolving. It's always changing. And some of these things right now are pretty good. If rates go down, those numbers won't be as good. And that's okay. We'll just evolve and see what things change to. But those are ways that we can do those types of things that Sandra was saying. People are worried. Should they do this? It didn't have to be that detrimental. Make good decisions. And what I tell my clients every day is, hey, make a great decision today. Just make a great decision today. And tomorrow, we'll see how it goes. It's all fine.
And to your point, it may not be perfect, but when it comes to the financial industry, there is no perfect investment. There is no perfect product. And there is nothing where all of your money should go into. It's all about finding that balance. And so looking for balance to ease your concern, to understand what you can take advantage of now, opportunities, as John was saying, that never existed before. They're here to show you what those options might be for your own plan and portfolio. At J. Hagan Capital, that's what they're doing every single day. They're ready to do it with and for you as well. Find us at retirementsolutionradio.com. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there, or again, visit us, retirementsolutionradio.com.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with John Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with John and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to John's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Inc. is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. It does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital. National license number 1882794.